Coming up on the show, a major infrastructure project for downtown is moving forward. Plus, a Metro Atlanta widow says a federal promise to help families hurt by COVID treatments has failed her, and thousands more are still waiting for answers. And if you're hung up about taking that summer vacation because you're nervous about flying, we got some things that we'll talk about to maybe help ease your mind. This is The Take. Let's go. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil. This is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines, where we look at the how and the why and the how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to give their take and share their expertise on today's top stories. Plus, we try to have just a little bit of fun as well. All right, let's start off with this. The Atlanta City Council has officially greenlit the Stich. This is a major urban revitalization effort to cap the downtown connector and link downtown to Midtown. The Stich will encompass a 14 to 17 acre park that will include green space, walking trails, new streets, and plazas. Joining us now to talk more about it is Jack Seeby, the Stich development manager for the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Oh, for a minute there, I thought you couldn't hear me, Jack. All right. So, how glad are you that this project is officially being greenlit?
I'm ecstatic. I think it's been an exciting idea for 20 some odd years, maybe even longer now, and it's finally coming to fruition here very soon. And thanks to the work of a lot of folks banding together here in the Atlanta region to make it happen.
Yeah, if you don't live here downtown, you're not really familiar with it. What's your pitch to get people to come and check it out?
Yeah, well, I think for certainly a lot of folks in the region are familiar with the Beltline, and I think the Stich in a lot of ways is trying to do similar things to the Beltline as the Beltline, in being a way to turn kind of your standard humdrum infrastructure into something that's really supportive of a lot of interesting, great development. And so, like you said, there's going to be a community-focused park with a lot of different activations, a lot of different things to do, a lot of new places to live, and a lot of new places to shop and to eat. And so it's really about transforming an area that today is a lot of big streets and empty parking lots into a vibrant part of our city.
Why has it taken it so long for this to get the go-ahead?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people for a lot of time have thought this is a good idea, but it's really it comes down to funding. It's a major infrastructure project. Our first phase, which we're planning to kick off next year, the current budget for that phase is a little over $200 million, which we've received a lot of federal grants for that and raised local funds as well. And so that takes time to make that happen, and it involves the Georgia Department of Transportation, the City of Atlanta, MARTA, a whole host of partners being on the same page to make it happen, and that everybody is working towards the same goal and excited about starting construction soon.
All right, so what's going to help to keep that momentum going, especially if costs start to rise on you a little bit?
Yeah, we have contingencies baked into our budget, so hopefully that will account for that.
Gotcha. What about the long-term residents in this particular area, local businesses? What's being done so they don't get pushed out?
Yeah, good question. So the last 2 years we've spent developing a master plan for the project that considers all sorts of aspects of land use, of park planning, of transportation. And part of that is making sure that current residents in the area, there are about 6,000 or so residences within a half a mile of the park, that they're not pushed out due to rising costs, rising land values. And so we've recommended measures such as tax freezes for current property owners, so that so that their taxes don't go up and it becomes unfeasible to stay. So we have a lot of methods like that laid out in our master plan. We've started a 501c3 nonprofit that will be working with the city to implement these recommendations as the project progresses.
Are you concerned at all about losing any federal funding?
Well, I'm certainly sure you've seen some of that in the news, and as of right now, we have a signed federal grant agreement, and we are currently spending down on that agreement, and we are making the case to all our supporters in DC and across the state that this is a really important project for a lot of different people and for our capital city. And we're just going to continue moving forward, and we're sure that this project is going to happen one way or the other, even though there's certainly a lot of, I think, question marks on what's going to happen on the federal funding landscape moving forward.
Gotcha. Let's fast forward to 2033. What do you hope folks are doing in this park on an average weekend?
Yeah, well, for me, we just had a new baby boy added to the family, and so
Congratulations.
I'm excited to hopefully spend some time in some of the great play spaces we have planned. We have an interactive water fountain, water feature planned for the park. We have a multi-age playground planned for the park. A lot of open fields for pickup games, and there'll certainly be camps and programming and things like that. So it's going to be a great place to bring your family and to enjoy a nice green escape from the hustle and bustle of the city.
Sounds good. Jack Seeby, thanks so much for joining us. And it looks like a great project. Can't wait for it to get off the ground. All right, thanks so much.
Thanks. Have a great one.
All right, folks, you're watching The Take. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this. Welcome back to the show. President Donald Trump has made an abrupt departure from the G7 summit in Canada to focus on the Middle East. This, according to the White House officials, it comes after the president issued a warning on social media urging people in the nation's capital in that region to immediately evacuate. Joining us now is Washington correspondent Alice Barr, who's been covering politics for years now. And Alice, give us the latest surrounding the sudden return back to the White House.
Yeah, Chesley, President Trump's early departure from the G7 itself just underscores how serious this moment is between two major military powers in the Middle East, Iran and Israel. President Trump spoke to reporters on board Air Force One about the escalating conflict, saying that he is not looking for just a ceasefire, that he's looking for something more than that, a full end to the conflict, and was adamant that Iran needs to give up its nuclear ambitions, its entire nuclear program. That is really what he wants to see. And you mentioned that comment that he made that everybody in Tehran, the capital of Iran, should evacuate. That's some 10 million people who live in that capital city. And he was asked about that comment on Air Force One, about whether there was a threat or some sort of incoming incident that he was referencing. And he said not at all, but that there's always the possibility a thing like that could happen, and that he just wants people to be safe. So the president has called for his National Security Council to be ready in the Situation Room, according to an administration official. He landed just a little while ago and headed back to the White House, and we anticipate went right in to meet with his national security counselors in order to kind of weigh the next steps and where to go from here.
Was there any other questions on the airplane, on Air Force One, about them firing back on us? Was there anything mentioned about it at all?
About Iran, yeah, so about Iran potentially firing back. So right. President Trump was asked about sort of how far the U.S. would go in getting involved, and about this idea of whether the U.S. would help Israel in its mission to destroy Iran's nuclear program. That's what is at stake here. Basically, the U.S. has, these kind of bunker buster bombs that could be dropped and potentially could reach down to the uranium enrichment facilities and sites that are deep underground in Iran. And he was asked about whether the U.S. would be able to ensure that the nuclear program were wiped out if the U.S. military was to get involved and take that kind of a step. And he just said he hopes that their program is going to be wiped out long before that. That would be, of course, a major step that would bring the U.S. much more center into this conflict between Israel and Iran. And so the question is whether to take that step, because President Trump has been adamant time and time again that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, or to keep pushing for a diplomatic deal to stop Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, which is something the president has been pushing for up to this point.
So, Alice, we know the president was set to meet with Ukraine's president at the G summit today, but now obviously that's not going to happen. Where does it leave the talks to resolve the crisis there?
Yeah, unfortunately, that very compelling and also quickly developing situation is kind of taking a back seat now to what's happening between Israel and Iran. But it comes after just overnight, the UN says that there were some of the largest strikes on Ukraine by Russia over the course of the past year, and a number of people killed, sites within Kyiv targeted. So it's very clear that Russia is not slowing down in its barrage on Ukraine. And yes, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had traveled to the G7 and was set to have a meeting with President Trump today. But again, that is scuttled while this focus is shifted right now to the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran.
All right, Alice, thanks for keeping us updated. Really appreciate that. All right, folks, we got plenty more stories for you coming up. And coming up next, what you need to know about crypto scams right after the break. Welcome back to the show. A retired couple from Gwinnett County lost nearly $800,000, their entire retirement, to a sophisticated crypto scheme initiated via a WhatsApp message. Scammers used legitimate feeling platforms to manipulate the couple's view of their investment through an AI-generated ghost site, making them believe their funds were secure until it was too late. Here now, joining us is Professor Rajiv Garg with the Emory School of Business. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
When you hear of a scam like this, what's the first thing that goes through your mind?
This is becoming very common these days, and it's so easy with the help of AI and technology to sort of social engineer people and falling for these scams.
What's the first piece of advice you would give someone who wishes to, or an investor, to do before they put their money into investing or whatever?
So in financial market, anything that's too good to be true, it is probably not true, right? So most of these scams start with that the crypto is so volatile, but I have a secret that I can help you make money. And they promise great returns. They will show you great returns with even small investments. Like if you ask somebody, invest $100 and I'm going to tell you, look how great it is. And just people fall for it very easily.
They tend to go after people, like in this case, a retirement couple. So they're not really that much on social media, maybe, advanced with the technology. How do you help them?
So the biggest thing is awareness. So there's this concept of the pig butchering. The pig butchering is essentially you will get a random text message. You don't need to be on social media. You don't need to be on any sophisticated platform. You may get text messages on your phone saying, hey, how are you? Long time no see, kind of a thing. And you don't know who the person is. It's coming from a US number. You respond back, like, I don't remember this number, or etc. And so essentially these people build trust over time by sharing some information with you, where you have been, where you met, all that stuff. And most of the information could be found, say, on LinkedIn or maybe some other social media platforms as well. So they build trust over time that I'm friend of this friend, etc. And people fall for it. Like people, especially retirement, they have a little more time. So you're on the phone responding to these people. And eventually they say, oh, look, I do this investment. I don't do it for everybody, but I'll do it for a small amount for money for you. So they need to watch out for essentially any message that they receive from unknown sources, and sometimes even from known sources, because a known friend could have their phone hacked,
Right.
and now they're actually sending message from their phone's number to these people.
And now with AI, it seems that, you know, if they wanted to take, you know, a piece of my voice, they could change the wording that I use and get it. How do you guard against that? Do you, you know, update your habits as far as your passwords, the two-factor authentication? Are those things working for us?
Yes, so they work only as long as you keep them safe and you don't trust people, right? So I could be talking to you on the phone. It's your avatar, your voice, and I probably will trust because I know you, right? But on a digital platform, knowing you doesn't mean it's you that I'm speaking with. And as a result, I can fall for these scams. So people need to be aware. So they need to verify every single thing. If I know you, rather than actually communicating with you on that platform, maybe I'll send you an email and say, hey, I've been talking to you and you've been suggesting this for investment, and just want to verify it's you, right? So like in real estate, we say location, location, location. For all online thing, it's verify, 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 right? Every single thing you hear, everything that anybody says, just verify with all possible sources that you have to essentially make sure you're not falling for a scam.
All right, and we got to update our parents too, right? Make sure they understand that they can be scammed easily. And so thanks a lot, Professor Garg. Really appreciate that. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. All right, coming up next, tipping is not just for waiters anymore, folks. We're going to explain that coming up. All right, welcome back to the show. You know, tipping just isn't for waiters anymore, and your wallet might be feeling it, kind of like mine. Joining us now is consumer expert Morgan Ward. And Morgan, welcome back to the show, first of all. She's a friend of the show, folks. Served as a professor at Emory University, so everybody knows you, Morgan. We're looking at tipping. Is it just me, or is everyone asking for a tip now?
Everyone is asking for a tip, and consumers feel pressed constantly to tip people.
So what's driving this? Why is that the case nowadays?
There's a few things. There's the nudges on the electronics that we pay on. There is sort of a holdover from COVID when we were trying to compensate for people not having jobs. And there's an awareness that people have lower salaries. And so we're trying to make up for that to some degree by supplementing when we are using the services. There's a bunch of things.
Do you think that lightning deals is saving us money, maybe or maybe not?
I think sometimes they're saving us money, and there's a lot of times that they're not. But they're using so many very effective consumer techniques to make us feel the obligation or feel the urgency to purchase that it's hard to tell the difference.
What constitutes a good sale?
A good sale would be one where you're really getting a unique moment of savings. So it's not that you're just being pushed or anchored on some price that actually isn't even real, or you're being reminded that there are only two left. It's that you're purchasing something for a substantially lower price than you would normally be able to get it for. That's a good sale.
How much does it play on your mental aspect? You know, how much does it play on you? And let me ask you this. Now, used to be a time when they said music in a store made you buy more. Is that still real?
Yeah, that's true, actually. That higher tempo music can get you to purchase more and sort of like motivate you as you're walking through a store. So there's all these nudges we're not even conscious of when we're shopping. It's true.
How about impulse? That impulse buy, right? It feels good now, but what about tomorrow? Let's talk about whether or not it's retail therapy or retail regret.
Well, so many people engage in what we call retail therapy. We actually get a dopamine hit when we buy something. And, you know, people say you can't buy happiness. That's not true. It's that you can buy happiness. It just doesn't last that long. So you'll feel the happiness initially when you see the Amazon box, but then pretty quickly thereafter, you'll feel that diminishing happiness. So we do it, and it doesn't have a long-term effect.
All right, you're right up my alley right now. So I do feel that way when I get a new pair of sneakers or a new tie. And I saw you roll your eyes there. What is it for you? Is it shoes?
It can be shoes, it can be a purse. I mean, there are a lot of things. Unfortunately, the reason that I'm a consumer researcher is because I'm quite a consumer.
What do you recommend? Do you recommend more moderation?
What I really recommend is holding off for a minute. And when I say a minute, I actually mean 24 hours. So looking at it, holding it in the basket or setting a reminder and then seeing, do you have the same feeling that you need to own it the next day? A lot of times we have some realization that we don't.
That didn't work for. I start thinking about it all the time. Now I'm thinking about it, and then what I would look like in it, and my mind just goes on and on and on. And then, the funny thing is, I've told my wife this: if you see something you like, go ahead and buy it, because when you go back, it may not be there.
I know, and I've done that too, where you have the regret of not purchasing it. My guess is that's less of the time. So there's a few things you won't get because you thought maybe you shouldn't, and you'll regret it. But most of the time, if you think about it, the thing that you're about to buy is actually not going to change your general outlook in a substantial way. So is it worth it?
Real quick, is there any regret after buying? Do you see that more, or is that less of a thing?
The post-purchase regret?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much post-purchase regret. People look at things and sometimes don't even use them because they have so many negative feelings in the purchase of something that they really didn't need.
Gotcha. All right. Morgan, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for that insight. Really appreciate it. You made me feel bad, but I still like you.
Next week it'll be better.
All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right. Coming up, folks, we got new developments in the Sean Combs trial. Defense attorney Darrell Cohen will be joining us. He's going to break it down for us and explain everything that has happened. We have some new developments in this case, so you may want to stick around for this. All right, this morning a Metro Atlanta woman is speaking out, upset a federal program has failed to fulfill its promises despite 4 years of waiting. Beverly Story helped her husband file a claim with the CICP. That's the Countermeasure Injury Compensation Program. Senior investigative reporter Rebecca Lindstrom joins us. And first of all, explain the CICP and what it's supposed to do.
And thank goodness for those letters, because it is a mouthful, isn't it? The focus of the CICP right now is to help reimburse people impacted by COVID-related treatments. There are more than 13,000 claims from people who say they were injured in some way by a countermeasure or a treatment for COVID that the government asked its citizens to take. You remember back in 2020, 2021? And while most of those claims relate to the COVID vaccine, there are also claims for the use of ventilators and drugs like remdesivir.
I gotcha. So what happened to Beverly's husband?
His claim is related to the vaccine. 6 days after he received it, he was rushed to the hospital. It turned out to be a brainstem stroke. He had to learn to walk and speak all over again, but his health problems, they just kept coming, and Beverly filed a claim with the CICP in 2021. She is frustrated that her husband died before his claim was even considered.
He was just full of grace, and he was very courageous, and he was very determined, and it took him 4 years. I thanked his whole team of doctors. Gave us 4 years with him. But yeah, both of us, knew, and we understood that there was no way they could know that this would happen to a minority of people.
Rebecca, do you think this case fell through the cracks, or you think there's something bigger here?
I have been reporting, Chesley, on the CICP now for 3 years. And when it started receiving claims, the office had only four employees. Now, under the Biden administration, staffing did increase significantly, but it is unclear if it has now been impacted by the recent budget and staffing cuts. What we do know is that 98% of the COVID-related claims that have been processed have been denied, and only 34 claims have received compensation so far, most of them receiving around $4,000 apiece.
All right, has the CICP given any explanation as to why it hasn't processed these claims?
Well, Beverly says, at least in her case, the last holdup was a document proving her husband actually received the vaccine. And she says that's baffling because she has sent thousands of pages of medical records as part of her claim. But in this case, they wanted proof he actually received the vaccine. And that is really bizarre because of all that information It is on the actual application. You can't even submit a claim without it.
Has there been any improvement since you started reporting on this issue?
Yeah, I mean, the CICP has greatly improved transparency. It has hired more workers, as we mentioned earlier, creating an online portal, relying less on snail mail. But even at this pace, I calculated it, and it would still take more than 6 years to get through every claim that has been filed.
Wow. So for those who have received compensation, what types of injuries are those folks experiencing?
Well, we were taking a look at that. Most of those relate to an inflammation of the heart muscle. There is also a disorder that's involved with blood clots and low platelet count. So, I mean, we're talking about some really specific things here.
How big are the payments that people are receiving?
They range from about $1,000 to $2.5 million. And I just want to say there is no payment for pain and suffering. So you only get a payment if you have a tangible cost associated with the treatment care that you've needed to receive. So we're talking about like a copay from something that your health insurance didn't pay, or you had to pay a certain part of the balance, or maybe you had to take time off work in order to get treatment. So it will only reimburse tangible costs. So there's some people who've had claims that were approved, but there just wasn't any tangible cost, so they didn't get a payout.
What would be some of the reasons that they would deny the claims?
Well, the key reasons that they've given is the lack of medical records. Perhaps the records you provided didn't meet that standard of proof, but the number one thing is they say people just simply missed the filing deadline. You only have a year.
All right, Rebecca, thanks so much. We appreciate that. Thank you for keeping your eye on the federal agency. Rebecca will have more on this investigation on 11 Live News at 6 o'clock right here on 11 Live Plus and on the ATL. All right. We have a tip you want to share with our Investigates team? Well, you can call Rebecca at 404-873-9111. Again, it's 404-873-9111, or email her at investigates@11live.com. All right, we had some major developments in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. The judge overseeing the case dismissed a second juror after inconsistent answers about his residence came into light. The defense argued this trimmed the jury's diversity, but the judge maintained the basis was credibility, not because of race. Also, the jury viewed sexually graphic video clips recorded during Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, as one, this one back in 2012 and another one back in 2014. Only the jury and the legal team saw that footage. The prosecution also presented credit card records that say at Combs' American Express card, the payments for flights and escorts. They also showed internal messages arranging for sexual encounters. Joining us now is defense attorney Dal Cohen, my friend. This is getting a little bit juicy now on us. We're seeing 2 jurors removed for credibility issues in a high-profile case. Does that raise any red flags that we should know about?
Not really. High-profile cases tend to drag on and on and on, as Puff Daddy has done. So the more it drags on, the more people wonder what's going on. And jurors can be removed for any number of reasons. Inadvertently looking at a newspaper, inadvertently going to the web, and oh my gosh, there's something about the case. So this doesn't bother me at all. What would bother me if this evidence came to the attention of the judge and the judge did not remove the jurors. This doesn't bother me. Fair and impartial. Look, I don't know if you remember Johnny Carson, but Johnny Carson had something he would say oftentimes. It's hermetically sealed. We would love for jurors to be in a hermetically sealed environment. They're not. They're subject to all the things that we're subject to. They try to keep it down. This doesn't bother me, not at all.
Let's talk about that diversity. Is the judge handling the diversity concerns properly here, or could the defense spin that into an appeal or something like that?
Well, the defense is obviously going to spin anything they possibly can into an appeal if he is convicted, as I suspect he will be. But could they do it? Yes. But the judge answered it the way the judge should have answered it. I'm not interested really in diversity. I'm interested in blind justice. Justice doesn't have anything to do with color, doesn't have anything to do with religion. It has to do with what happened or didn't happen.
From the prosecutor's side, how would you have handled the approach of this graphic video that they're now seeing being put into evidence there? How would you handle that being shown to the jury?
What I used to do is, and I would do now, is to say to the jury, I don't like having to bring this evidence to you, but we have no choice. It is part of the case. And as a result, I understand you very well may be shocked. You may be dismayed, but you're going to be educated, and you have to see what happened. It's one thing to testify under oath, raising my right hand, I swear to tell the truth, and jurors hear that. But when they see video evidence, they don't just hear it, they see it, and it becomes embedded in their psyche. That's important.
Is that the balancing act right there? Telling them, hey, this is what you're going to learn from it. And it's shocking, but this is what you're going to learn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to bring this to you, but if I didn't bring it to you, we would not have a fair and impartial trial. And ask the judge, that's the case. So that's what I would do. And I think they're doing a nice job of saying, I don't want to do this, but I have no choice in the interest of justice.
We're hearing that the jury could get the case by the end of the week. What's left for the defense now?
That's a very good question. Obviously, the defendant could decide to testify. He shouldn't. That would be a terrible mistake in my view. But if he doesn't, he is likely going to be convicted. And if he does, he's likely going to be convicted, and he'll leave himself open for cross-examination, for questions from the prosecution about why, what, how, when, etc. So the defense has to spin it, in my view. They have to say, hey, this is the record business. This is not unusual. It may be illegal, but it shouldn't be. What he did was what any record executive would do and has done. That's all they've got.
From the beginning,
and they're hoping that those one or two jurors will say, you know what, you're right, not guilty.
From the beginning, you were saying he was in deep yogurt. Do you feel any different now?
The yogurt is thicker. It's more like cement. It's been thickened and heavier, and his legs are tightly engrossed in that deepest of yogurts.
Oh, man. All right, Darryl. Really appreciate you joining us, and thank you for your insight, man. It's been great. It's been great. We'll
Take
continue.
care, my friend.
We'll continue. All right. Plenty more stories for you coming up, folks. This is The Take. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the show. Your wallet may love or hate what's coming next month. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good morning, Maribel. And Amazon Prime Day is quickly approaching. Break down what's worth the snag and what's not.
Hey, good morning, Chesley. You're going to have plenty of time to snag those deals. Amazon's Prime Day is back. It's going to be longer than ever. Amazon is doubling the length of the annual sales blowout to run 4 days this year. It's scheduled for July 8th to the 11th. Amazon promises Prime members will get millions of deals across more than 35 categories. So those will include bargains on fashion, beauty, as well as groceries, household essentials, and electronics. So Prime Day has become this massive shopping event, not only for Amazon, but for other retailers like Walmart, like Target, who run their own sales to compete. And consumers have been using Prime Day and the sales by other retailers to do back to school shopping. You know, some shoppers get an early start and even pick up on gifts for the holidays. And Chesley, you will soon learn I go hard for Christmas. And this year we're going to handwrite 400 cards. So Santa Maribel's got to get started now.
I get it. I put stuff in my cart, wait there to see if a sale comes, then I snag it. You got a popular warehouse giant pumping up savings in a brand new way, huh?
One of the big perks of a Costco membership, Chesley, is cheaper gas, right? And now Costco is opening its first standalone gas station. It's going to be in Mission Viejo, California. It's about 50 miles south of Los Angeles. The station will feature 40 gas pumps and be on the site of a former Bed Bath & Beyond. Costco is planning to open the station next spring. It will be for members only. And as we said, Costco gas is real popular. And standalone stations could be a way to ease long lines at the pumps at some Costco stores, Chesley.
Yeah, I use it. We're hearing that the sons of the president are now going into the phone business. What's up with Trump Mobile now?
Well, President Trump's sons and their Trump organization are launching a mobile phone service and plans to sell its own smartphone. So customers can use the service with their existing phone. And then later this year, the company plans to sell its own device that it says will be made in the U.S. The new Android phone is going to cost $499. As for the mobile service, the core plan is called 47 Plan. It's going to cost $47.45 a month. The Trump organization says the mobile service will work with all three of the major wireless carriers. Will use, what are called these resale deals, where carriers sell excess capacity on their networks. Chesley.
All right, and finally, Kroger has a sweet surprise to help you cool down this summer.
tell you, Kroger is celebrating summer by giving away thousands of pints of ice cream. The supermarket chain will give away 92,000 pints this Friday, June 20th. It marks the first day of summer, and the 92,000 is to mark the 92 days of the summer season. Now, the giveaway is part of a promotion for Kroger's Summer in the Pint collection of ice creams. For information on how to get a free pint, visit freekrogericecream.com. And from there, you can download a single-use digital coupon, and that's going to be available to use on June 20th, starting at noon Eastern time while those supplies last. Chesley, what is your go-to ice cream treat? Because I've gotten into gelato lately. Hazelnut is my jam.
Nice. You know, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm plain just vanilla, and that's all I want. I put some Jimmy's on it. Now, are you familiar with Jimmy's?
OG. No, tell me about it.
Sprinkles. We called, where I'm from, we grew up calling them Jimmy's. Oh. That probably was the name of the brand, but we called them Jimmy's. But sprinkles, it's vanilla with some sprinkles on it, and I'm good.
Well, see, and that's what creates the special sauce. I like it. So when I come visit, you're going to treat me to the Jimmy's and the vanilla ice cream.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On me. Thanks a lot, Maribel. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
You got it.
All right. Do you have a fear of flying, folks? Up next, we have some suggestions that may help you out. Stay right there. All right, look now at the world's busiest airport. You know, on average, about 2,100 flights take off and land at Hartsfield-Jackson each day, helping roughly 286,000 travelers to their destination. Here now today with us is Christina Ernst. She is the president of VIP Tour Traveler Service. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that ice cream on Friday. I'm going to have to make it to Kroger.
Yeah, get your favorite flavor. All right, there's been several incidents probably still fresh on the minds of travelers that's making them probably uneasy or unsure about traveling. What do you tell people when you're booking flights to make them kind of at ease about these recent disasters?
Absolutely. There is such a thing called aerophobia, and it affects 25 million Americans, according to the Cleveland Clinic. And so some of us may not even realize we have it, but we can start feeling anxious, cold and clammy hands, just really getting frightened. And then you have the mental aspects of it where we're wondering what is bringing that on. And it was something like the traumatic episode last week with the airplane crashing with Air India. It could even come from stemming like a new life change, such maybe getting married or having your first grandchild, and you're like, why am I taking this risk? And so we have to think, we are more comfortable behind the wheel of our own car than we are on an airplane. But there are lots of ways that we can move forward with this to work through it. One of the things that I like to recommend is to always get to the airport early. All of us know I drive 90 minutes to the airport, and just the thought of Atlanta traffic does it in for me. So I try to get in early and get situated. And then I also like to have things ready, such as books to read, music, and then of course just regular conversation with your travel companion.
Yeah. Do you see I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. And then I also recommend there's lots of different ways to continue this. So maybe you're going to a foreign country, so pick up a few keywords in a foreign language. Take your time to do this instead of, working. This takes your mind off your fears. Maybe look up restaurants and activities and different things. Yeah.
When these incidents happen, do you see a drop in the amount of people traveling or trying to book travel?
No, we're actually coming into our busiest summer season. Over 272 million people will be traveling this year. Right now I'm seeing a huge increase in sales online. So fares to Europe this summer, you can hop on a plane and go to Paris for $600. So I'm seeing a demand for last minute travel, but I am having passengers reach out to me and saying, hey, I do have a concern. What are some of the ways to work with this? What do you recommend about my flight or where I'm sitting? And even a seat on an airplane can make a difference. So if you sit in the middle or towards the front of the aircraft, you're going to experience less turbulence. And so a lot of people don't realize that. And my biggest tip is to always travel first thing in the morning or later at night. And you probably know why, because of the turbulence.
The weather.
Yeah. And so those are the different things. As the ground is cooler in the morning, it's not mixing as much in the air. And then always you have those delays out of Atlanta airport. So I like to get there and get to my vacation and get it started right away.
I understand. Are there resources out there available for people who feel that like anxious? Are there other resources?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the ones, if you're ready to travel, you have certain types of meditation and calming apps that are for your smartwatch or your phone. And Calm is one, mindfulness is one, and then even a lot of the airplanes now, Delta has a program on its in-flight entertainment to work through meditation. And and then also, I recommend to do certain things such as learning more about flying. So, how does an airplane actually take off and land? What happens in the atmosphere? Why is there turbulence? Or simply some type of virtual reality and watching yourself take off in an airplane or learning how to fly it. These are different things that, as we face our fears, it can help alleviate some of the stress with traveling.
My sister is coming to visit, and she says that she's going to opt to take the train. Are you seeing more people take other alternatives other than the plane?
No, not really, because most of my travelers tend to travel internationally. Cruises are definitely up as well. And so I just think, and then I'm seeing people either travel more with groups or take the jump and travel more independently. And I think those are things that we can try to find ways to relate with, but I'm not really seeing any other sources of travel, but definitely people are still hopping on airplanes and just trying to find ways to face those fears. And even therapy, there's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist and trying to work through that as well.
You mentioned the seats on a plane. Obviously, now we know that the back of the plane has a little bit more turbulence. Is that why a lot of people opt to sit toward the front?
Well, yeah, but there's something magical about first class too, but it's always not in everybody's budget. But I definitely think that you should pre-purchase a seat so you know where you're sitting. That can also alleviate some of the anxiety, but definitely middle of the plane over the wing where it's very stable, and then towards the front of the plane is always a great place to buy it. I
like the wing because the seats tend to be a little bit longer for my long legs. So thank you for that tip, Christina. I really appreciate you joining us, and thank you for the insight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you back here soon. All right, stay with us, folks. We'll be right back right after this. Hot, humid, scattered thunderstorms. Stop me if you heard that before, right? Today, we're looking at temperatures getting up to about 88 degrees. We'll have a chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Where we have those, of course, brief heavy rain. We got the frequent lightning, and also some gusts of wind will be associated with it. A front will move through on Thursday. You notice we're up to a 50% chance by then. You're looking at 90 for the high temperature, and then that front passes, and we'll watch the temperature or the chance for rain go down. Only a 20% chance Friday through the weekend and into next week, but those temperatures will be going up well into the 90s for your Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. And when you factor in the humidity, it's going to feel like the upper 90s, maybe even closer to 100. We'll keep you updated on any heat advisories that may impact our area. All right, here's my final take, folks. There's a name synonymous with the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. That name? Joey Chestnut, right? Known as the Michael Jordan of hot dog eating, he will make his return this July 4th after a brief hiatus in 2024. The 16-time champion has won the contest every year from 2016 to 2023. Last year, he was banned from the contest because of a partnership with Impossible Foods. Now the champ is back. Shout out to Nathan's Hot Dogs for recognizing they made a mistake. Listen, everybody wants to see the champ, or at least see him taken out, right? Let's face it, Nathan's. Right? This is not a major sport. You don't get paid a whole lot of money for this particular contest. Everybody gets excited to see it on the 4th of July. They only pay him about $10,000. You can't live off of that and hot dogs alone. Let him have his sponsorships. We want to see the champ eat. I mean, it is a little bit disgusting, but, let him eat. He's won a lot of championships. Who can take him out, right? That's what we want to see. That's all we got for you today, folks. Welcome back, Joey. Try to encourage someone today. Make it a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.